Back, baby. I heard you saying that, making that joke, Morgan, but I'm gonna say it. We back. I'm super excited, man. Never on schedule, but always on time. We live. Man, so I'm gonna let Morgan let everybody know why we've been late. I'm just kidding. I'll let her know, man. What's been going on? It's a blessing. What's going on? What's the update?
Yeah, I'll take the blame. We've been away for a little bit, but it's simply just because my wife and I had a second baby. So it's been exciting, but obviously just dedicating for the last month or so, just time to the baby. So um, got two kids now. Life's been crazy. It's definitely different, but it's super exciting. But someone told me one time that at two kids, it's still okay because you can play man to man. But once you have a third, you got to play zone defense, and that's when it starts to get real crazy. So we're still good right now, but it's been an adjustment. But we're doing well. I think you got the routine down.
That's dope, man. Super awesome. Big blessings. Two girls now, man. It's
Yeah.
wide. Girl dad, that's tight. Well, honestly, I'm just excited to be back and doing this again with you guys. I was actually, I mean, kind of surprised at hearing when you say certain people, oh yeah, they watch it and they watch, every week and they enjoyed this topic, and it's really cool that people, just want to say thank you to anybody who tunes in. We really appreciate you guys. That's why we do it, just because, putting some positive stuff out about business, and not just our business, but it helps in, all businesses. So just really excited to be back. This is great. What I think we should talk about, let's just get into it. Let's just go for it. So recruiting, and why I think recruiting is such a powerful thing, and actually probably one of the best things, if not the best thing. And I think we should talk about that because so many people get weird. Maybe it's about the word recruiting. Maybe it's like they feel like, you're recruited to, you're going to be a clone in Star Wars and you're getting recruited to this thing. But everybody recruits if you think about it. And I'm gonna let you guys get into and share some examples because Morgan and Dylan are probably the best to hear from on this topic. Um, but everybody recruits, churches recruits, army recruits, the list goes on and on. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on that? Why do you think people get so weird about that topic?
Go ahead, Dylan.
Um, Probably because they had one friend reach out to them and were super pushy, trying to get them to join their business. Let's call it what it is. But the situation is that one friend was trying to do them a favor, depending on what the business is. I think a lot of people, they have that stigma of like, I don't think it's the recruiting that's the issue. I think it's how they go about being recruited. So sometimes people are pushy, they're trying to hit a goal, whatever it is, and they're not treating it like a real business. So the person on the other end is like, it's just one of those things, or just trying to recruit a bunch of people. But when you have a reason why you're recruiting, it's a lot different. One of my mentors said, he said, jobs hire, careers recruit. And so it's interesting because actually in corporate America, the positions that recruit are the highest positions. So they're always recruiting the top people from the different facilities. There's a guy in our facility who worked for Merrill Lynch, and he said there were literally people that got paid $250,000 a year just to recruit the top advisors from other companies. Yeah. Right? Like these people got paid to recruit. So I think it's because people really don't understand. And honestly, I think it's because there's a lot of businesses out there that recruit. There's like smaller businesses, there's different MLMs, stuff like that. And people just get weird, like, oh, they're pushing recruiting on me. But I mean, let's talk about the other side. What if I told you, hey, Leighton, I got a position for you. I'm going to pay you just enough to where you can pay your bills, but you can't save anything. And you're going to be at that position. You might be able to grow a little bit, and you're probably going to hate what you're doing. But at least in 40 years, you can live off a little less than half of what I paid you. Doesn't sound too exciting.
Yeah, no.
Right? Now, I know that's not every job, but when you think about it, It's like, why don't you assess what someone's trying to recruit you to and the opportunity of what it is before you just mark it off because it's the term recruit. And the last thing I'll say is, for me, I love recruiting because I get to decide who's in my organization. I get to decide, hey, look, I think you're a good fit, or no, I don't want you. Right. But if you have a job and someone hires someone, you don't get to decide who's at that job with you. You get to decide who you recruit. And mind you, you want to make sure you're in a business where you can recruit to your team, not to the business, because you're just going to be building the business and making them rich. You want to make sure that it's your team. So if you, I don't recommend this, but if you were to leave, you're still profiting. You don't have to be bound to the company. You're bound to your own 1099. So there's a lot of different topics in this that people don't realize. But recruiting is the best thing you can do. Hiring is the worst thing you can do. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Morgan?
I mean, just freaking ditto. We can just close the the podcast right now. Be like, all right, we're done. Just to dig a little bit deeper in some of the things that he's saying. I've talked to many people, and some of the people that have had experience in the past with friends or with anybody that's tried to recruit them into a business. Dylan said it, but I always say it too. I said, well, what was your experience like? Right. And then they give me their experience, whether it was a good experience, whether it was a bad experience, whatever, it doesn't matter. And I always back that person up. And I'm always like, just so you know, like, don't take it as a bad thing. I was like, they really were trying to help you. They might have not gone about it the right way, but they really were trying to help you. And just as Dylan was saying, let me explain a little bit more why. I've asked people before, what would your dream life be? And first and foremost, the sad thing is that a lot of people struggle to tell me what their dream life would be. What that tells me is that they have just been brainwashed to think small. And it's funny because I know a lot of people that are just going through the motions. They think like, oh, people that recruit, like, they're weird, they're brainwashed, they're in some weird cult. But it's so funny because, like, I feel like I'm a good example because I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I was in a corporate America job, and then now I'm in a job where I can recruit and I can build my own team, right? And so I've seen both sides of the spectrum. So nobody can tell me that, oh, one side of the, oh, they're brainwashed, whatever, they're weird, they don't. I've seen it all. I've been through both sides. And there's a reason why I left the corporate America job, right? A multiple six-figure income corporate America job. I would have done that for some like weird thing, right? So I've seen both sides. And so really the reason why is that people struggle to dream is because they've literally been brainwashed. We have been brainwashed as kids through the school system, right? To learn when you have to raise your hand to ask a question. You can only leave if the teacher allows you to leave. For heaven's sake, you got to freaking raise your hand and ask if you can go to the restroom. And I know everyone watching this podcast is laughing about that because we all know in high school, it was like, no, you're going to the restroom too much. You can't go. Like, the flip, like, I got to ask to go pee. Are you freaking serious? But that's how it was when you were in high school. Every single one of us went through that, right? And then all of a sudden a bell rings and it means get up and go to the next class like a bunch of sheep, right? And we're just dictated by this system that tells us what to do. And it's the same freaking thing. It teaches us how to become an employee. Employees have a lunch break. They can only go get lunch when the boss tells them they can get lunch on their certain period of time. They have breaks, right? 15-minute breaks. A lot of times there's a bell that freaking rings. I used to work at a warehouse and there used to be a bell that would bing and everyone would stop like a bunch of sheep and we would put down our stuff. We'd go outside and do our little 15-minute break and then we'd come back in because we had to be back by that certain hour. And so it's the same flipping thing. But what happens is that it starts to create a culture of small thinking. And I don't mean to be rude by that. What I mean is a lot of times we think backwards. We think by whatever our position is, whatever our income is, and that is what we use as our world of like creation, of as our dream of what we can see our future becoming. And most people are working a job, like Dylan said, where eventually they're going to end up barely just making ends meet. And in retirement, they're going to live off of half of what they lived off of during their life when they barely made ends meet. So their vision is so tiny because they can't see past their $40,000 a year income, right? They just can't, because that's their reality. And it's very hard for them to see past that. And so that's the first thing. It's sad that most people struggle to tell me what their dream life is because they've already accepted that there's no chance for them. So that's number one. Number two, if they have no chance to be able to live their dream life, why the flip are they still doing what they're doing? Right? Why the flip? I don't get it. Some people that I'm still close with from my old company, they've told me like, man, not all of us have the courage to just up and leave and start a business. And I tell them, well, that's why I keep talking to you, to try to help you get the courage to do it, because it's not as hard as people think. But for some reason, it's just like in their brain, like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And so they just limit themselves to where they're at, even if they hate what they're doing. So for all of that to say, when I ask people this, what's your dream life, whether they can or they can't describe it, the reality is 100% of the people that I've talked to, their job or their career will never get them to what their dream life is. And so for those of you that are listening to this, you have a decision to make. You're either going to continue on the same path, shrink your goals and dreams to fit your income and just accept it, right? We call that settling. How many people in the United States settle? The majority of people. Or you're going to have to figure out a different career path to be able to get your dream life. Just depends on what's more important to you, living your best life or just settling and just going through the motions for the rest of your life because you just don't want to put the work in. And so when I say that, why I love recruiting, to kind of tie the bow at the top, is recruiting allows you to have a possibility to live your dream life, right? It gives you the possibility. That's all you need, is the opportunity. All you need to know is it's possible. The rest of it is up to your efforts. But in a 9-to-5 job, a corporate America lifestyle, it is not possible. It's not possible, right? Even some of you that might be thinking, well, I make multiple 6 figures, or I'm a CEO, I make $14 million a year. I'm sorry, but as a CEO, your freaking life sucks. Most CEOs are divorced. Most CEOs have to work 100 hours a week. They never get to see their kids. So at the same time, that's not a dream life. That's just rich. But that's not a dream life. I'm talking a dream life to where you have everything. You have freedom. You're able to see your kids whenever the flip you want. You go on vacation, you keep getting paid. You don't have a boss that's telling you you have to stay here or else you're going to get fired. I'm talking dream life, right? If you want to be donating to different charities, you want to create something, right, that can help families and help people across the nation. A dream life, not just being rich. And so that's why I think, just going into a lot more detail onto what Dylan said, why I think recruiting is the best thing possible, because it allows you to be able to have a dream life, which everybody wants, even whether they admit it or not. Everybody wants it. People have just realized that there's no chance for them. And so they act like they don't want it, and they just settle because they know they have no chance and they don't have the courage to actually try.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I'm telling you, bro, I got my eyebrows burnt off and I already knew all that stuff. Fire, bro. So what about for the people that that have an issue still with recruiting when it comes to, let's say it could be 2 ways. It can be somebody who's getting approached from an old friend they haven't spoken to in a long time and they're weird about it, or it could be for someone who's in a similar business model, and they're trying to go out and recruit people. Is there any, like, how do you shift someone? Is it even possible to shift someone's mindset about it? Or do you feel like it's just like, well, some will, some won't?
Real quick, I'll do a short answer and I'll let Dylan expand. The reality is, in everything in life, there's going to be some will, some won't. And so, at least in my opinion, it is what it is. If people are just like so against it, then fine, that's fine. Then they're not meant for the business. They just want to continue to live the life that they're living. That's fine. But one thing that I always do is I ask people, so what's the issue with it? Right? The reality is, again, most people have the same stupid answer because most people are just sheep. We just follow the crowd. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's just true. Like the middle class encompasses 70% of the population. So it's the most crowded in the middle class. What do I mean? Middle class thinking, right? Middle class thinking, average thinking, because the majority, it's the average. That's where most people are, right? So most people are just going to think that way. And so sometimes you have to snap them out of that thinking, and you have to do it by asking them questions. So sometimes I'll ask people, well, what's the issue with it? Oh, well, it's where, well, other people below you are working all hard. They don't make any money. And the one on top is just chilling. Okay. Well, first off, they have no idea what they're talking about because that is not how it works. Right. But people think that because everyone just says that. And so they've never looked into it. They've never like researched. And so their average mindset is just, well, everyone says it, so it must be true. Right. So that's what they say. It's just stereotypically, that's what they say, but they don't know anything about any of the businesses. They just say that. And then number two, you ask them, oh, well, yeah, it's where, all the people in the bottom are working hard. They're making money. The one on top just chilling. Okay. So then I'll ask them, can I ask you a question? Sure. What is different about that? And then what is different about your job where you work at? And then that's when people just lose their shirt because they're just like, oh my gosh. And I said, what's the difference? And I say, explain it to me. And they'll be like, oh man, I've never thought about that. And that's the issue, is that people don't think. They've never thought about it. And so, because the reality is it's the same. You have a CEO that's making millions of dollars. You have people on the bottom that are just making ends meet, right? And what happens is people say, well, yeah, they make a portion off of you. Well, that's how it is in corporate America. That's how it is in any job. The person at the top is making the huge portion, is making millions of dollars. A lot of revenue comes into a company. The guy at the top, the woman at the top, they're taking the big old portion for themselves. And then the rest of it's getting sprinkled down little by little to the ones that are at the bottom of the totem pole. It's every job. There's nothing different. It's just that people haven't actually thought about it. They've been lied to in corporate America and been told, oh yeah, this is your salary because that's what that position deserves. Really what they're saying is, I'm only going to give you a certain portion. I'm going to take a majority of what you deserve, but I'm only going to give you this much. And your efforts are going to make me more money. It's the same thing, but that everybody does it. It's okay for everyone. So the average mindset is that's how it works. And so at the end of the day, if they still have a weird if they're still weird about it, they're either one of those people that are just whatever, just one of those, they're never gonna look into it, or they've never taken the time to actually analyze it. And so you have to help them analyze it by asking them questions. And every person that I've asked that to, they've all been like, oh my gosh, there's nothing different. My boss is making all the money and I'm making crumbs. It's the same thing. I say, well, even worse, it's not even the same thing. You have no chance. I at least have a chance, right? So like yours is even worse than what I'm doing. So like at the end of the day, it's just one of those where just asking questions, it opens up their mind. And every person that I've talked to has openly admitted like, oh my gosh, you're right. I never realized. And so that's all it is that they're just following the stereotypical stupid answer of people that don't think. And then when you ask them questions and help them to actually use their brain and think, then all of a sudden they're like, oh shoot, I didn't even realize that I was in that trap.
For sure. And then real quick, because I want to hear from Dylan real fast. Two things to add to that was I think that we, when I say we, just society as a whole, we demonize that guy or woman at the top, the CEO. I mean, any company. So this is like corporate America. This is a business owner. This is whatever. That person gets a bad rap. Like you hear Bezos, and people can argue about if they like him or not. You hear about Elon Musk, you hear about whatever, the people at the top, and they're this and they're selfish and they're whatever, all this stuff. But the fact of the matter is is that person paid their dues, they put the time in, and they built this whole thing, and they ultimately gave you this job, this opportunity. It's the same in any business. And so in our business structure, somebody who quote unquote is at the top of the pyramid and just making all the money and racking all the dough. First of all, like, they just got in earlier than you and they worked harder than you. And then you just got the benefit of having the opportunity to work with them through whoever introduced you to the company. So it's the same in a job as it is in a business. And I'm just saying that just because I think the people at the top get a bad rep sometimes because it's like, oh, they're selfish, they're just stingy, they don't pay taxes, all this stuff, right? People complain about, but really they just, I mean, hey, I just got to be honest, they busted their butt and they worked hard, and now they're learning loopholes on how to stay at the top. And I'm just like, can I really hate on that? So there's that. And the second thing, just to reiterate the fact that if you, in at least in our business, not in every business, especially like you said, corporate America, but at least with us, we have the opportunity to pass up the Elon Musk in our company or the Bezos in our company if you work hard enough. That doesn't, it's not easy. It's for sure not easy, but nothing is. But like you said, in a job, you don't have that opportunity to pass anybody up. Like, you're not, like, it's an upgrade to even get out of that, out of the, yeah, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to disrespect anybody's job, but we know that work is hard. You want to get something, you want to live your dream life, you got to put hard work into it. And so that's really what it comes down to, man. So I love those points. I mean, I agree 100%. Now I see it that way, but again, like you said before, I wasn't doing that. And so everyone kind of has a mindset shift once they get exposed to it through maybe a family member or through I don't know, maybe watching the show. That'd be awesome to have a story like that where people are like, wow, it kind of shift my mindset about this or whatever. And so you just have to be exposed to it and kind of at least open your mind, read, but like actually read, not just on some Wikipedia where the public can just edit it. So anyways, I want to hear from Dylan real quick before we end, because he's been silent over there, but he's a wizard too. He just won't admit it.
So when you were talking late, and I was thinking, we despise who we think we can never become. So like, you think about like school, like school, right? You get the popular kids and people hate them because they're popular, right? So like you said, the person at the top of the pyramid, people talk smack. Well, you didn't get that handed to you. You had to work there. So what people think is like, you know what, I can never become that, so I'm going to hate that person. And when someone says, oh, it's recruiting, one of those things, whatever, they're just projecting what they think about themselves on you. So they're like, man, I could never do this. I'm not confident. I'm not good. So I'm just going to talk bad about it. So I can justify why I can not live my dreams. It makes them feel better about themselves. Now, what is happening now is people are so dissatisfied with their jobs that they're almost forced to change. And now it's giving them the opportunity to be open-minded. And now they're starting to realize, oh, wow, this is not what I thought. And it's unfortunate that it's taken people that far, because they're like, it's almost like they've been lied to their whole lives, and they're finally been told the truth. And it's like, what? This whole time, this is what I've been waiting on. Now, the other point I'll add is, I always try to adjust what people really think, right? Because you always have like the perfect answers, but then it's like, well, I know what people are really thinking. You guys know, because we were those people. Sometimes people might be thinking, oh, well, it's with recruiting, it's not a salary. And what I'll say to that is, it's because you don't have quotas. Like, you have a job, you have to do a certain amount of production, whether it's money, whether it's physically finishing these 5 projects, whatever. And it's like, okay, you do this every single month and I'll give you this paycheck. And I was talking to my wife the other day, and we were looking at, we really want to buy land. Just tell Morgan all about it, in Vermont, and build a cabin. And we were looking at land, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's the perfect spot. And I was just talking to her, and I was like, through this process of me building up our business, um, how come you, like, in the beginning, it's like it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I was like, how come you never like stressed out? And she's like, because when you were at a job, I knew you were going to get that same paycheck every day, nothing was going to change. But once you started your own business, I knew, man, the possibilities are endless. So there's hope every day that we're going to get to where we want to be. And see, that alone was like, man, that is so cool. Because I think the tough thing about a job, there's two things I'll end with. One, most people have a job because they got to pay their bills. So I get that. You can't just up and leave a job and go start a business. Some people do. And you're looking at a few of them on the call. Bunch of crazies, right? But I wouldn't recommend that for really anyone who's wants to keep their sanity. But they want that security. Okay. So that's fine. Keep that security and build up your business until you get to that point. But the security, job security, is an oxymoron. There's no such thing, because you're at the expense of your boss. They're like, you know what? You've been working here for 20 years, but we need to cut costs. You're the most expensive person on my list. So we need to get rid of you. Boom, you're gone. What do you do? So I think you guys just need to assess, like, if it's because, you know what, I love my job, cool, then don't change it. But if you're closed-minded to other opportunities, then that's what you call ignorance. And ignorance isn't going to serve you. So you have to understand what you're saying no to and what you're saying yes to in replace of that. So that's what I would say.
Fire. Both of you guys are awesome, man. I really enjoy hearing your opinion on a lot of these things, and your mindset behind it. And I know a lot of people feel the same way too. They're kind of curious. So yeah, like I'm curious. Actually, I'm like not quoting this. This is me actually talking now. Like I want to know why we took so long to talk about this, because this is like one of the topics I feel like most people want to know. Like, yeah, I had someone trying to recruit me, and I haven't talked to him since high school. It was weird, and so, bro, this is stuff that most people have to deal with sometime in their life. They get a call from somebody they haven't spoken to in a little while, or maybe it is someone they speak to pretty often, and they're kind of curious on, well, why do you guys have to recruit? Why can't you just do it? Because they're just thinking like they work at a job and they don't do that. So it's like, why can't you just mind your business and do it yourself? It's like, well, let me tell you, I could, for sure you can. So let's answer that. But then second, it's like, okay, well, why do it alone? Why not build an army? Why not build a family, but more than anything, and just grow together and build something, build a big empire together. So it's more so that, like you said, Morgan, it's really that person is wanting to help people, and they're not looking at it to just benefit them. But yeah, I just want to recruit this, you know, just so you know, we don't get paid off recruiting anyway. So if somebody's wondering that, because that's something that I don't think we addressed in there too. There are companies that do, and that tells you where their mindset is as far as why they're trying to bring people on. But we don't do that. We don't get paid to recruit. It's strictly to build, right, and and build a big family, build a big team, a big business, and all the benefits come after that. But anyways, super awesome to hear from you guys. Super glad to be back, and we will be doing this every Tuesday again. I promise. So anyways, we'll see you guys next time. I appreciate you guys.
See you guys.
Yeah. See you guys.